America has a poverty problem that is exacerbated by the housing crisis and inflation and a variety of other things, but each state is different when it comes to this. There are some states where the poverty is so bad that there's a sizable population of homeless people, as well as rampant crime, and then there are other areas that are considered poor compared to the state level, but the communities actually aren't that bad. I thought maybe we should check out one of those latter states, so here are the 7 poorest towns in Maine. Number 7, Gardner. In most states, if you stumble across a community with a poverty rate that is higher than the state's rate and a lower median household income, it's usually a depressing place to live with issues like high crime, but that's not necessarily the case in Maine. I present to you Gardner. The poverty rate is 13.5% compared to the Maine rate of 10.8%, and the median household income is $57,329 compared to the state's $68,251, but this is actually a community that I would recommend to people looking to move to Maine. This is a small community with a population of just 6,106, but every year it attracts tourists from all over. Located on the Kennebec River, Gardner is great for those who like fishing, boating, kayaking, and other water recreation. The city has a waterfront park that has hiking trails and art installations, and it's also where you can see free concerts every Friday night during the summer months. If you like architecture, the downtown area of Gardner is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is filled with 19th century architecture. The area features unique shops, restaurants, and cafes. In 2021, Down East magazine named Gardner as one of the best small-town downtowns. In addition to being a cute place, it's also a safe place. Violent crime is 74% below the national average. The chance of becoming a victim there is only 1 in 80, and the city is safer than 70% of cities in the United States. The third largest industry in Gardner, after healthcare and retail, is public administration, with 11.8% of the employed residents listing that as their industry on the census form. This makes sense because Gardner is just a 12-minute drive from the capital of Augusta, with some residents making the quick commute to work. Number 6, Caribou. The most northeastern city in America, Caribou is a very safe community. They reported just 5 violent crimes and 44 property crimes. That's with a population of 7,441. Violent crimes are 82% lower than the national average, and Caribou is safer than 84% of cities in the U.S. The chance of becoming a victim of a crime is just 1 in 151. Healthcare, retail, and educational services are the top 3 industries in this town, although agriculture does have a place in Caribou's economy. Aroostook County, where Caribou is located, is often referred to as the potato capital of the world because the area produces a significant portion of the nation's potato crop. This county is also the largest grower of broccoli on the East Coast. The poverty rate is 13.6%, and the median household income is just $47,803. However, if you're looking for an area where the average person can actually buy a home, Caribou might be a place to consider. The overall cost of living is 9% below the national average, but housing is 47% lower. This might just be one of the few places where you can get a 5-bedroom home for under $200,000. Number 5, Bath. If you've ever wanted to explore a town that feels like you've gone back in time, you might want to visit Bath. This town of 8,805 is known for its 19th century Federal, Greek Revival, and Italianate architecture. You can see this in the old post office, as well as what the locals call the Chocolate Church, thanks to its dark brown paint job. Bath sits on the Kennebec River, so there's also a waterfront promenade where you can take a stroll, and in the summer months, they have gazebo concerts at their library park. And unlike some vacation spots, you don't have to worry about your safety in Bath. Violent crimes are 91% below the national average, with the chance of becoming a victim of a crime at just 1 in 111. Manufacturing is the second largest industry in Bath after healthcare, and a large part of that is due to this town's history in shipbuilding. It goes back to around 1607 when the first group of settlers built a ship so that they could sail back to England. They couldn't handle the harsh winters and decided to cut their losses. Later groups who settled in the area also worked in shipbuilding. At one point, there were more than 200 shipbuilding firms in Bath and the surrounding areas. Today, Bath Iron Works builds ships for the U.S. Navy. The median household income in Bath is just a few $1,000s below the Maine median at $63,023, and the poverty rate is just slightly higher than the state's rate at 13.9%. Number 4, Skowhegan. Around 6,400 residents call the central Maine city of Skowhegan home, but sadly, 14% of them live below the poverty line. One reason for the poverty rate is lack of decent paying jobs. The top industry in Skowhegan is retail, which accounts for 21.6% of the jobs. A quick look at Indeed shows that the majority of the companies hiring in retail are paying the Maine minimum wage of $14.15, which is considerably better than the federal rate of $7.25 that some states are still using, but you're still not going to get rich on that pay. That's why the median household income in Skowhegan is $46,613. For those who don't want to work in retail, the second and third largest industries are healthcare and manufacturing, with Skowhegan being the site of a New Balance shoe factory. With the low income and poverty come a host of issues for this community. For one thing, Skowhegan is the county seat of Somerset County, which has the highest prevalence in the state of Maine for food insecurity. For another, there's been an uptick in crime, particularly related to drugs. Skowhegan reported 258 property crimes and 18 violent crimes, including one murder on the last FBI report. The overall crime rate is 38% higher than the national average, and the chance of becoming a victim of a crime in Skowhegan is 1 in 32. But if you're really into bread, this might be a place for you to visit. Skowhegan hosts the annual Kneading Conference for the Maine Grain Alliance. The conference addresses topics ranging from how to grow grains better to ways to use the grains in baking. This year's conference includes presentations on focaccia art, baking and cooking with fire, and exploring heirloom corn. Number 3. Brewer. Brewer is a small community with a population of just 9,666. However, you can cross one of 3 bridges over the Penobscot River estuary and be in Bangor within 5 minutes if you want to visit a bigger city. Not that Bangor is huge by any means, but it does have more amenities than Brewer does. Brewer has had several industries come and go throughout its existence. Brickmaking, shipbuilding, sawmilling, and even the ice industry have all had their heyday in this community. But now the 3 largest industries are healthcare, retail, and educational services. One of the largest employers in the area is Eastern Maine Medical Center's Lafayette Family Cancer Center, as well as several other clinics, which is why healthcare is such a large part of the economy in Brewer. The poverty rate in Brewer is 15.8%, and the median household income is $55,870. While lower income and higher poverty correlate to higher crime in other communities in America, that's not the case in Brewer. They only reported 3 violent crimes, which puts them at 92% lower than the national average. There were also only 216 property crimes reported. That makes Brewer safer than 64% of U.S. cities. A little bit of trivia about Brewer. This is the hometown of at least 3 quasi-celebrities. One is singer-songwriter Howie Day. If you turn on a top 40 radio station in the early aughts, you couldn't escape hearing his hit song Collide. Another was actress Stephanie Nisnik. She was most known for her role as Nina on the show Everwood opposite Treat Williams. Sadly, she passed away in 2019 from alcoholic liver disease. The third one is Sean Danielson. He's been the frontman for 2 bands, Smile Empty Soul and World Fire Brigade. This was also the hometown of Major General Joshua Chamberlain, who was a college professor turned decorated Union officer who took part in the Battle of Gettysburg. Number 2. Belfast. The current estimated population in Belfast is 7,041, which I think we can agree makes it a very small community, so you would probably never expect to see a celebrity walking down the street there. But if you had visited the area in the early 2000s, you could have potentially seen 2. Actor Jonathan Frakes, best known as Commander Riker on Star Trek The Next Generation, and his wife Jeannie Francis, who is best known for playing Laura Spencer on General Hospital, once lived in and owned and operated a store in Belfast. I guess the cold weather got to them though, because they moved to California a while back. I wonder if having them as residents helped raise the income statistics for the area, because right now it's low for the state. The median household income in Belfast is just $53,925, and 20% of the town's residents live below the poverty line. The economy in Belfast is interesting. The top 3 industries are finance and insurance, professional scientific and technical services, and educational services. For comparison, in the state of Maine, the top 3 places where people are employed are schools, hospitals, and in construction. The biggest employer in Belfast is Athena Health. It's an electronic medical record company, so healthcare providers use them for storing medical records, submitting claims to health insurance carriers, billing patients, that sort of thing. The second largest employer is a tie between Bank of America and Waldo County Healthcare. This helps to explain why finance and insurance is the top industry in the area. This is also a waterfront community, so there are several employers related to boating. Number 1. Old Town. If you've ever wanted to live on an island but can't afford Hawaii, maybe check out Old Town, Maine. Part of this town sits on Marsh Island on the Penobscot River. But if you do feel like moving there, you might want to have a remote job because you're probably not going to get rich in this community. 24.8% of Old Town's residents live below the poverty line, and one reason for that is there aren't enough well-paying jobs to go around. The top 3 industries are educational services, healthcare, and retail. A quick look at Indeed shows the jobs being offered in this town are at places like Subway and McDonald's, or for jobs like bank teller and newspaper carrier. I didn't realize that there are people who are still reading the physical newspaper. But I digress. With these types of jobs, a person probably isn't making much, which helps to explain why the median household income is only $46,343. Another reason that Old Town has such a high poverty rate is that it is home to an Indian reservation. Prior to statehood, this area belonged to the Penobscot tribe, but starting in the 1770s, the tribe started losing their ancestral lands. Eventually, they were left with just an island in the middle of the Penobscot River, which became a reservation for the tribe. Native Americans account for 3.4% of Old Town's 7,449 residents. Statistically, Native Americans are more likely to live in poverty than other ethnic groups. Another reason for the poverty could possibly be due to the presence of students. The University of Maine is located in the next town over, Orono, so it's about a 10-minute drive from Old Town. It's possible that some of the students who choose to live off campus are living in Old Town, which could skew the census data for income and poverty. After going through these towns, I think one of the takeaways is the small rural communities just don't have enough decent jobs for everyone. Another is that the people of Maine don't use poverty as an excuse to commit crimes like in some other states. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, hit the thumbs up or share it so more people can see it. Until next time, I remain stuck in the cornfield.